I will now declare the meeting open at 5 o'clock and a warm welcome to everybody in attendance here today. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we live, work and play. We pay our respects to Darkinjung country and elders past and present. We recognise the continued connection to these lands and waterways and extend this acknowledgement to the homelands and stories of those who also call this place home. We recognise our future leaders and the shared responsibility to care for and protect our place and people. A reminder to everybody in the room, online as well, that your image and what you say may be broadcast live to the public. So please be mindful of your actions and your comments. Please avoid making statements that might defame or offend, and note that a recording of this meeting will be retained online in Council's archives. Please turn your mobile phones onto silent or off, and filming and photography are not permitted. Today we have an apology from Mayor McKenna, and we also have a request from Councillor Daniels as well, is also an apology. And we also have a request for Councillor Neal to attend online. I'll put this as a motion. Can I have a second? Councillor Eaton. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. I'll just have a look around the room, and if anybody has a conflict of interest to disclose, please let me know. I do not have anything. Does anybody else? I will take that as no conflicts to disclose. And on to item 1.6, confirmation of our previous minutes. I'm going to put the...
Happy to move that.
Moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Eaton. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. We will not move anything by exception. We've got a few presentations this afternoon, and I think that they are all in the agenda so that we can have a discussion. So we can go on. Item 2.1, which is our capital works update, and a brief intro before I pass to Director. Just to note that in an ideal world, we would have this report covering up to the end of financial year, considering that we are in our August meeting, but unfortunately those statistics won't be fully prepared for a written report until our next meeting, but I believe the Director can still respond and has some figures for us as well. So over to the Director.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As indicated in the report, for the end of May, we've expended $206 million out of a phased budget of $237 million. That's slightly below our KPI of 80, which is 87%. We aim to be tracking for 90% better. Preliminary figures for the end of year are not complete. However, they're tracking closer to around that $265 million, which is around that 94% of budget. Just it's in the report. Some projects that of note would be, cell 4.5 at Buttery has commenced. We've let the design for the animal care facility, and some fairly significant major work was done at the Marty water treatment plant, where the roof was placed, and it was done very safely, and it's actually notable for the workers, the way that they installed that in a safe fashion, and it's done quite quickly as well. Okay.
Thank you. I'll open it up to the floor. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the capital works that are currently in the agenda? Councillor Eden?
I'm sure the Director would be disappointed if I didn't raise the animal care. So I see the designs contract's been let. When's that? So it's meant to be completed by the end of 2026, according to your notes.
I understand the design.
Yeah.
Yep. Is expected to be finished. I might be able to.
Look, we're looking to return to council for Feb council meeting. It's currently our target. And that'll keep us on track for mobilisation as March and Feb.
The design wouldn't come back to council. So it depends on
construction contract to try to look to mobilise. Or to stick with the time frame that was identified in the previous reports.
Sure. So if the design finishes at the end of this year, you won't be able to let a contract till what, April, May?
It's EOY process, so we can get out to market earlier before we have the full design complete, and then do a price based second phase, and hoping to have that back at council by February. March is what we have now.
Then what are we construction period?
That would be from May onwards, and from December 20. I don't like to. Yeah.
December 28 completion. Yeah. But we're still on track with the timeframes, sort of milestones originally identified. The reason they split the procurement.
I'm sure it was originally earlier in 28th of December.
Dates are aligning with the original dates.
And there was a resolution to try and bring it
That's
forward.
right.
And now that's happened, with respect. I mean, the date hasn't come forward at all.
The whole intention was to bring that forward. So that was the December timeframe, and through two processes. One, there was looking at opportunities for the design to truncate that. That did go to the market, and there was non-complying tenders in relation to that. So there was no real gain. There is still an attempt to put that out to have a faster construction period before the end of December. So that's still the intentions, Councillor. It is intended to still try and track that back a few months.
Well, no, Mr. Director, I'll keep asking.
Yep. Please do.
Thanks, Councillor Eden. Councillor Smith.
Thank you. Just a question. Director, could you just remind me what the operational improvements are at Kincumber Sewage Treatment Plant? What's the couple of sentence overview of what's going on there?
I don't know if I can pass over. Does any of the council officers?
Sorry, it's without notice. I'm happy to get some information offline, but could I get some information about that, please? Could we just, can I note that somehow? Or? Yes, thank you.
Take that on notice.
Thanks, Councillor Smith. Councillor Neal.
Yes, it's really similar concerns as Councillor Eaton. The PET unit has sort of been indicated as a high priority for the council and a desire for that to be expedited. I know we did receive a report back saying that the cost of expediting it was substantial, and I don't think any further action was taken, but I'd also like to just add my voice to saying that should be a high priority, because we don't want to be going into 2029 still with a non-completed building, and so it's just an encouragement, I suppose I'll put it as.
Councillor Neal. Councillor Smith.
Sorry, can I just clarify on that point? And I guess I'm not fully appreciating the councillor's concerns other than the time frame, but we still have the two operations in place, don't we? Yeah. And so we're just trying to expedite this so that we can close those. And okay, all right.
I think that the concern is that the present facility at Erina is not probably ideal.
Yeah. No, appreciate that. And yeah.
Yes, Councillor Wright?
Yeah, I just agree with Councillor Neal there about the R&R facility not being ideal. The need to improve that. So I think the facility will certainly provide that. My question, be remiss of me not to ask the director about Stain Road, Saratoga. That started, from my understanding, around the first couple of weeks of June. Any sort of progress updates about how that's tracking?
What I can try and do, Councillor, is put some photos in that one once it's
Yeah, because I appreciate that's probably
can be then shared with community as well.
yeah, because I appreciate that probably starts to border operational matters. I just know that particular project, a number of issues over the years. Just keen to for that.
I've taken note that I'd certainly like to put photos in here, so it gives some progress. And we'll take that on. Certainly taken notice of.
To get the photos at the appropriate time.
I think that's been a good addition that we've developed over the past few months of this committee, adding the photos and progress updates. I think that's quite valuable for councillors in the community to see places they might not necessarily be able to physically get to, but they can see the progress being done. So as many that we can include would be great.
We'll start through the chair. We do have our capital works mapping as well. So we'll be looking at providing, it is roughly a month after that gives an update in relation to some of those projects as well.
Councillor Eaton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just as follow on, I think you and I discussed the possibility of doing inspection once every 3-6 months, possibly on a Saturday, to see some of the major works. I know it's something councillors used to do.
Yeah, which I think is worthwhile.
Yeah. So I'll leave that with you as the chair, maybe try and organise. Obviously, we need to. I did have one other question in relation to the report, just to get my head around it. The percentage of the budget, am I right in recollecting that the budget was originally about $300 million, was reduced quarterly adjustments, 60 odd?
It gets adjusted through the quarterly reviews, and it's been reduced to the $282 million is the Q3 adjusted budget.
But it was originally
Close
over 300 million?
Yeah.
So when we're talking about like meeting a 90% or 94%, we've actually reduced the budget during the year. So I'm not sure if that's, it might be the KPI you're working to, but I'm not sure it's the right KPI. No, we should be trying to achieve what we said we were going to achieve. That's something that maybe we can take up at another level.
Yeah.
And that's very fair, Councillor Eaton. Councillor Smith?
So, Chair, just a question. How do things get on this list that comes to this committee? Because there's a lot of capital works. So
Sorry?
there's a lot of capital works projects. So how do things get onto this list that come to this committee?
Through Chair, Councillor
Threshold.
Smith, it's a $10 million value project.
Okay, thank you.
So at the top of the report, Councillor Smith, there is a detailed number of projects in the different values, but in terms of the actual ones that are in this report, it's over 10. So if you have questions about other projects, you can.
Look, as I think the director and others know, I'm interested in the $15 million that's been on this building, but because it's broken up into different stages, I think it doesn't appear in this report. So I'm happy to submit that as a separate request for information, but I'd be very interested in to know, as I've raised previously, the need and the urgency.
I think that would be a councillor request on that one.
Initially.
Do we have any other questions or comments from councillors? Not. Do I have a mover of the recommendation? Thanks, Councillor Eaton. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wright, thank you. All those in favour?
Just for noting?
Yes, just a staff recommendation. Unanimous, thank you. We now move to item 2.2, which is the Apex Park public toilet closure and demolition request. And this item has come about as a result of conversations at the last quarterly business chamber meeting, which council is a part of, where the request came in for demolition of this public toilet at no cost to council. This is somewhat in conformance with the public toilet strategy that we have previously adopted, being that the toilet was due to be closed, not necessarily right now, but that would have come at a cost to council, and this is being offered for free. But the director will have some more information on this for us. Over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, concur. It has been raised. There's an opportunity to rationalise the site. We did do some demand surveys, which is in the report, which indicated very low usage. Page 26, average men's for 23 and women 19, and disabled 49, total of 49, so it's 6 there. So there has been some additional information to support the recommendation to seek the demolition.
Councillor Neal. You're on mute, Councillor.
Thank you, Director. There's a couple of things that concern me about this proposition. The most important one being that the proposal to demolish this toilet seems to come from one sector of the community, being the chamber. And it may well be that the balance of the community also support this proposition, but at this stage, we don't really have that information. In fact, the proposal seems to be that we should make a decision to demolish the toilet and then advise the community and get feedback after the decision has been made. I am extremely uncomfortable with that procedure. And also, I noted that even though this recommendation appears to be supported substantially by the fact that the demolition is not borne by council, if you look at the detail of the report, it doesn't actually say that it will not be borne by council. It says the word used is may, which anyone who clearly understands the meaning of that word means it may or may not be. So I'm concerned that we should clarify that. Is the council going to be paying for this or not? I don't think may is a fact that we can rely on to make a decision. Personally, I would prefer to see a consultation with the community done outside the chamber before we actually make the final decision about whether to demolish or not. And I would actually like to move that we do that we seek input from the broader community, and then that the decision comes back to this committee once that feedback has been received.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Smith.
So numerous questions about this. So the Chamber of Commerce suggested this. Who attended that in terms of staff or councillors? Did we have anybody there?
The executive attend as well as Councillor McNamara chairs that.
Oh, okay. Bit of a conflict when it comes to council, but anyway, so
just to clarify, does he do that in his councillor capacity?
Yes, but it's as I
the Chamber of Commerce.
He chairs it as a council.
Did he chair it before he was on council?
So
he's not a member, is my understanding.
So just to clarify, Director, does Councillor McNamara do this in his councillor capacity?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
All right. So the report seeks to portray this as an antisocial issue as well, but there's no advice from the police regarding that. included in the report. So what evidence, other than the Chamber of Commerce saying it, do we have that this is an issue about antisocial behaviour?
I understand there's some evidence in relation to, our cleaners and up the site, and the fact that our counters were stolen as well at the site. I don't know if I can add any further information in relation to quality.
Putting in the report about the anecdotal nature of some consultation we did. So the director is correct. Spoke to our cleaning staff who were at the site every other day, and our security staff who were there every evening locking that up. There is a lot of anecdotal commentary around the use of the site.
Okay.
Many other reasons other than to go to the toilet.
Okay. So do we get rid of toilets in other areas where there might be antisocial behaviour? Has that been a practice of this council to remove toilets if there's an antisocial problem?
We looked at this one in isolation to investigate, to provide this.
Okay. So I am intrigued also, Director, that this departs from the toilet strategy. And I know Mangrove Mountain community is desperate to try and get some action and keeps getting told it's not in the toilet strategy, so council won't engage with them on it. They're engaging on this one though, even though it doesn't comply, it's not in conflict with the toilet strategy.
I think it was better to let them amend it and then move on after that rather than highlight it now, Councillor Smith.
Well, the money saved. Who's paying for this one? Who's paying for the removal of the toilet?
So can we just have a response to the first part and then we can move to the second part?
So the removal at this stage is proposed for not by council. So
who's paying for it?
The developer of the school.
Developer of the school.
Who owns the land?
The Christian school down there. Rest of us bought the land.
Yeah.
Is setting up a.
So they own this land that the toilet block is on?
No. Next to it. They're setting up a primary school.
Okay. Sorry, can we just go back to the director? You first just clarify about the public toilet strategy and where this fits in, and then take Councillor Smith's second question about the funding.
So funding's been answered. Sorry, what was the first question?
So sorry, the Christian school has said that they will pay for it.
Councillor Smith, we just need to focus on the first question.
Part have been answered.
The first question is about the public toilet strategy and whether this is a departure or in conformance with the public toilet strategy.
I'd say it's generally consistent. The strategy does identify that this toilet gets demolished. So that part of it is a certain.
But what year, please, Director?
Well, it's a timing issue, isn't it?
It's in approximately 10, 15 years.
So it's bringing it forward by 10 to 15 years.
Yes.
And so, okay. And sorry, can we just confirm who would be paying for the demolition?
The owner developers of the school. I don't have the details.
But we have so are they part of the chamber, are they?
Well, representing.
Sorry, this is very vague and yeah.
Director, did you have anything else to respond to on that before I move to another question?
I think unless there's any other details in relation to ownership of the land.
Through the chair. I understand the land is in road reserve.
But sorry.
Road reserve.
Okay.
And then will be affected by the road widening, which is going to happen in the next, presumably, 2 to 3 years.
So does that mean it's state?
No, it doesn't become. Sorry, I didn't catch who does actually own the land. I sort of missed that. It was a bit soft.
Council.
Through the chair, the council owns the land at its road reserve where the toilet block is located.
Oh, okay.
Just to piggyback then off Councillor Eaton's question or statement about the road widening, how will that impact, if anything, if we know, on that parcel of land and this current block or future?
Have to amend the toilet strategy again.
Chair, the proposal for the road widening along Pacific Highway there actually takes another lane, so it impacts on the width of, I suppose, that sort of natural area. It doesn't impinge on that space.
And how does that impact this block?
It's still several metres away from the physical toilet block, but it would make that space less conducive for recreation.
Um,
Can I just follow on that? In terms of
on the same topic?
Yes.
And then
Sorry, yeah, Councillor Castles, but it's just the same issue.
Yeah.
So my understanding is the Pacific Highway widening through Weil, which is we're talking about. There's traffic lights going in on North Road, and this toilet has an access lane basically at the corner of North Road. So I can't see how that access lane's going to be preserved either.
Yeah, from memory, the access is slightly further away from Pacific Highway, but it's still fairly close to that intersection.
It's going to be signalised, is my understanding. Sorry, Councillor.
Sorry, Councillor Neil did have a hand up before. It's off now, but did you have a question or a statement, Councillor Neil first?
No, I just wanted to remind the yourself as chair and the rest of the committee that I did actually formally move a motion
And I'll second.
when I spoke at the first off, which was about deferring this matter until broader community consultation had taken place.
Thanks, Councillor Neil. Councillor Castles.
Yes, thank you. So it is all a bit vague, obviously, but we don't at this stage then have, say, an MOU or anything definite with the developer of the old school site. Yes, my question would be, is this something that's occurred before, where we have basically the privatisation of a demolition project, which is actually on road reserve, basically something that council looks after? Is this something new that we're contemplating here? I certainly am not aware myself, but that doesn't mean anything necessarily. I'd be just interested to know if we're now following a privatisation for demolition, should someone nearby not like the look of a toilet.
Through Chair Councillor Castles, it's not so much around the privatisation, it's around the procurement process and making sure that we abide by any processes. So it is making sure there is appropriate insurances, WHS is so there would be no cutting of corners in relation to the ability to demolish.
Right.
If these people are unable to do it to comply, there's two ways forward. Is that potentially we come back to say there is a cost for council to do it or not.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Just zoom in a little bit, please. Thank you. Do we have any other questions or comments before we go to the motion? Yes, Councillor.
Yes.
Just sorry, was it Councillor Smith first, and then we can go back to you, Councillor Neil.
So look, it's not that I am necessarily opposed to this, but I really don't think the report makes the strong argument. And I do think there is a need for further information. So the suggestion that there's antisocial behaviour, I accept that area for that park, but I assume that happens in other areas as well, and somehow council works around that. So I do think there is a need for further information. I do think that it's a concern that this is just popped on the agenda paper without a very clear understanding. Well, I don't think the basis of it is clear, that it's come from the Chamber of Commerce and that's all we know. And now it appears that a school is going to pay for the demolition. So I do think in the first instance, I'd like to get more information. It's not that I'm necessarily saying I'm opposed to it, but I'd like to get some more information and some better consultation on it. I do also note that is on a main road where people may well need to pull over and use the facility. So sure, everybody can go to Macca's or everybody can go to the other two locations, but they're not on the main road, which is a very convenient location for people. So thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Smith. Councillor Neal?
Yes, when I spoke previously, I asked for clarification about whether the costs would be borne by council or not. The report is quite unclear. It says may not have to bear the cost. So can we have some clarification from the director as to why it's a may and what circumstances will it be may and what circumstances will it be paid for by someone else?
Through the Chair, on page 22, Council executive summary, it does say that Council endorsement is sought to proceed with the closure and demolition, with demolition costs to be met externally and not borne by Council. Now, if there's another component within the report, I suppose that's going, alluding to the response that I gave to Councillor Castles, if there was a decision to pay for that by Council.
On the second page.
Sorry, I'm not clear on what you're saying, Director.
The intention is that it is not paid by Council. If it was something that needed to be paid by Council, to Council.
I again didn't get the second half of the sentence.
Councillor Neal, the answer is no. Council does not intend to pay for it, and if for some reason it came back and it was Council paying for it, it would need to come back for a Council resolution because it's expenditure of funds.
Okay.
But we can write something into the motion to clarify that for you, Councillor Neal, and ensure.
Yeah, well, I do have the motion that I've moved previously also before you at this stage, which is a preliminary matter that should be dealt with before any further motion.
Thanks, Councillor Neal. We're still on questions. So yes, Councillor Wright.
Before I go about wording it, Councillor Neal, would you be interested in having some sort of addition in there around actually hearing from the schools themselves, whether it be via presentation or even a letter, to hear some more direct feedback from them about what the antisocial behaviour actually looks like? I think
I'm happy for further information. My main concern is just to ensure that the broader community has some say in whether this toilet's demolished. So my motion was that we seek community feedback about whether they wish to see this toilet demolished. I'm happy to add to that, seeking further information from the school if that would be advantageous in terms of making a final decision.
Yeah, even just at the end, that this include.
I was going to just wording anyway, so.
Does that include that?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. I'll let Councillor Stanton.
If we so we've got the motion from Councillor Neal on the screen, seconded by Councillor Smith there. Councillor Neal, would you consider just clarifying the motion, just to make it a bit more clear, just saying maybe like a point 1, Council recommends to Council to put this public toilet on public exhibition for broader community feedback, including local stakeholders such as the school.
Yeah.
Number 2, a report to come back to the next IAC meeting with this feedback, potentially with a presentation from the school, and also regarding maybe a bit more about the antisocial behaviour and Council's proposed response in the way that we'll handle that. Should we receive feedback to retain it, and that would still be a problem, how we would be mitigating that issue. Would you consider that kind of?
Look, I'm as I said previously, I'm happy to have further input from other parts of the community. I think I'd rather the two should be one. We're sort of putting the cart before the horse. So what's here shown as two should be one because that's the broader consultation. And then under that, we can also seek further feedback from the school about their concerns about antisocial behaviour.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. One being that we recommend to council to put on public exhibition.
Yeah.
And then two being a report back to the next committee meeting about the feedback, maybe the antisocial behaviour mitigations, and maybe three is a presentation from the local school.
Well, I'm happy to have three if they want to do that, but obviously don't want to make it compulsory that they.
Why don't we just say provide the opportunity?
Yeah, perfect. Happy to do that. And then maybe in the report as well, we can include about the feedback and also the costs and who that be borne by.
Yeah, I've got no difficulty with any of that additional information being provided.
Okay, perfect.
Second that.
Wonderful. We might move on then, and we can fine tune that wording based on that discussion.
So can I just clarify, is the school operating on that site already? I think it's next year, isn't it, that they're moving in?
I'm not sure, but they're developing it for them.
Yeah,
so
they're not
ready now.
there, so they're not witnessing on a day-to-day basis any social behaviour. Is that correct?
Maybe the director or the staff can answer that.
I can't give you
No?
details on that.
Okay.
Hopefully,
in terms,
this process we can find that out. Yes, Councillor Neil.
in terms of this resolution, we're going to put it aside and come back to it later in the meeting, or when are you suggesting we?
Well, I think we've all accepted the premise of it being one public exhibition, two a report that details the feedback from the community, the local stakeholders, antisocial behaviour and mitigations, and three, the opportunity for a presentation. And I think we can satisfy that as being enough for us to now make a decision and move on in the interest of time, and the staff can finalise that wording.
And can they just send it out prior to the minutes going out? I mean, at the end of the meeting, I'd just like to see it before it's sort of wrapped up.
Let's move on, and at the end of the meeting, we can just quickly come back and read the wording.
Okay.
But if we can just vote now, and we can just tweak any wording that might be any issue at the end. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Then,
Madam Chair, I did want to speak.
sorry, Councillor Ian, yes.
I don't support the recommendation. Oh, sorry, with the motion that's now been put up. I was happy with the start. This toilet was established when Pacific Highway was the main drag north, was the Pacific Highway. There was no freeway. That's why this toilet is there. You've got the community consultation because you've got the usage figures. You're just delaying the inevitable. There are plenty of other toilets in Wyong. Asking the community is not going to work because they don't use the toilet. Anyone in the vicinity doesn't use it. Yes, you might get some feedback about antisocial behaviour, but you're not going to get more. There is a new school going in there. It's not needed. Just an unnecessary duplication of work, I think. But it's a matter for the committee.
Thank you, Councillor Eden. Does anybody have any other discussions on the motion that appears before us?
Yeah.
Yes, we'll vote now and we can just, or is the wording complete, Barney, or not yet? You good? Oh, okay, perfect. We can just have a quick read.
Sorry, the only thing is it the developer? I thought you said the school.
School is the developer.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So I think
We'll call it the school. That's fine.
yeah, I'd rather have it
Means
make
that
clear it's the school.
Could we just add community, broader community and local stakeholders at the top?
But I do think it needs to be clarified the time frame that's currently proposed for demolition. I mean, I don't know that this is a question of it shouldn't be demolished. It's a question about should it be demolished now.
but the strategy is anyway at this point. So recommends that council seeks input from the broader community and local stakeholders, and the consideration of the demolition, and then we can delete that whole last sentence after the no sorry, not that one, the last sentence, returns. Yep, perfect. We make 3 number 2, receives a report to the next.
No, not the next. Don't know.
Okay,
Sorry.
and that won't impact the timing if it should come back to be demolished. Will that impact the school?
Potentially.
So I think we should still have a report then. And we might
So the report referred to in 2 is a report to this committee. Is that what you're saying?
report to the next. I mean, Director, correct me if I'm wrong, if we don't receive this report and then the school backs out in that time frame, then it negates the need for any of this. So should we not have,
And then
it's 2 months, so we can still put on public exhibition.
Saying that they withdrew their application.
Okay, but if we put on public exhibition next week, we put on exhibition for a month, and that still gives you time to come back in 2 months, the next IAC meeting.
No, it doesn't.
Got to go to the council meeting.
Yeah, that's true.
We go to council meeting, there's 28 days on exhibition, got to analyse the responses. It will not go to the file. IAC.
Can be responsible.
Okay, well, let's keep it at the next IAC meeting still, and we can get a response on maybe if that's an issue, we can liaise with the school about the timing.
Get a progress update at the next.
So maybe a further report, and then we can
Why don't you just change it to progress report?
receives the progress report to the next IAC meeting.
That way you can say, I've done the consultation, here's the high level findings, here's what we're thinking.
Progress report to the next IAC meeting. And we can just, telling council's proposed current actions, detailing council's current actions. Communications with stakeholders. Etc. And the opportunity for further presentation. And then we'll see from that update next meeting whether we need another report at the following meeting regarding the community consultation, and at that point we can put in the costs and the mitigations and things like that. Okay, I will now put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Item 2.3, the walking, wheeling and cycling strategy is back and ready for adoption. This has come a few times through this committee and through council, and we will now have a presentation from Jay about the strategy. Someone could go and collect it.
So I'll just
Perfect, Director will fill it.
presentation, but we do have a presentation from Mr. Spare in relation to the walking, wheeling and cycling strategy. We were planning on doing a workshop. We all know there's complications in doing that. We have got a comprehensive presentation that Jay's going to go through. So I'll hand over to Jay, if we can keep the questions to the end. So we have to look at slides, but it's a little bit to get through, and sometimes the answers come in the following slide. So we've got 3 presentations today, so let's get through. I'll hand over to Jay. Thank you. Director.
I'm assuming you've done an acknowledgement.
We have.
Yeah.
You ready? Am I going the wrong way? That's better. So just a quick recap of why we're here today. I know my team are really excited. We're at the end of what is one of the biggest projects that we do. It's one of the broadest engagement exercises we do. And in a nutshell, we're taking the bike plan, pedestrian access and mobility plan that we had previously, the first generation active transport documents for council. We brought them together into a walking, wheeling and cycling strategy, which lines up with Transport for New South Wales practice. Quick recap on the journey. I've been showing this one every time I've come, and we're on the last leg. So potentially today we walk away ready to knock those last few down, and that's what I'm bringing to the committee, the final walking, wheeling and cycling strategy following the public exhibition period. Then slide, but really what I'm trying to do is just recap all the consultation we've done. And so down the page, you can see all the different pieces that we've done as we've gone down. And this is one of the biggest ones we do. This is what my team call Your Voice, Our Coast on steroids. We do social pinpointing. We did drop-in sessions right across the LGA. We met with stakeholder groups. We met with agency stakeholder groups, user groups. And then in the public exhibition period, which is that last bit there, but another 138 surveys. We previously went out for a few months on, that was last year through to December. And then we've gone out for another 28-day period, received another 138 surveys. And in general, and it's what I would hope given the journey that we've been on, the feedback was very supportive and generally very aligned with the objectives, with the outcomes, with the actions that we had identified. And this is where we landed. So that's the final strategy, the vision, and the four outcomes that we line up our actions, our deliverables underneath. There wasn't the need for substantial change, and I'm going to show you in slides coming up the detail that came back from the public, but there wasn't need for substantial change. We did, however, make a couple of changes, and at least two of them are visible on that screen. Can anyone see one of the changes? Because that's the same content provided last time.
No wheeling in.
Yep. Oh, there isn't in the title. Good pick up, Councillor Castle. I hate that. That's going to really irk me. That wasn't the one, so you got the bonus one. One thing is, and it's been a really strong theme from the start, but we just kept hearing it through the public exhibition period. It was that term schools. And so we've added schools just to really reinforce. So schools actually appears in a number of the actions. It now appears in one of the outcomes right from the start. The other piece that's different on this screen is the number of actions. There is one more action that we've added in, and you'll see later on that action relates to the public having confidence in what we're doing and be given progress reports on how we're tracking. All right, hard to explain, but what we've got on this side over here is the original consultation that came from the drop-in sessions, the social pinpointing, the Your Voice, Our Coast. They were the themes that we heard. What we have in this table on this side is the feedback that came from the public exhibition period. And so as we did for that exercise, we generated the themes, understood what were the different types of feedback that were coming through. And then the team sat down and did a bit of a mapping exercise to go, all right, what has already been picked up? Is there alignment with what was already said? Is there something that wasn't, that is missing? And so there is a whole heap of engineering science we put behind this, but basically what we found is really strong alignment with the themes that we have. Nothing really stood out, which was good. That's the outcome that I expected to see. If we'd done our job last year, the public exhibition period shouldn't have thrown me a curveball that we weren't aware of, and it didn't. So that's just looking at the outcomes, the 5 outcomes that we've adopted, and it maps that feedback to those sort of things. So what you can see is when you work through those different themes, there was generally really strong hit points across all of the outcomes that we're looking at. In the table, you can start to see the references to the specific actions that line up against those themes. I'm not just giving you the words, you could go in and go, oh, I can see the actions, and yeah, that ticks off on the general themes that are coming through. You can see in the first one, I acknowledge that we added the term schools right up front into those outcomes, so it was there front and centre. And in the last one, delivery prioritisation and trust, you can see the addition of a new action, 5.4, which is in relation to monthly progress reporting. So now I'm starting to talk a little bit about those next steps and how do we develop programs. And it's extremely relevant to the feedback that came from the public exhibition period, because as it was through the broader consultation, there was lots of project nominations as well. It wasn't just feedback on the type of things we should do. There was a lot of very specific, you should do this one. And so how we capture that is bring it all together. We've registered everything that's been received, along with everything that council's already had from prior records, along with everything that pops up from every new strategy that gets written. And we put that into a multi-criteria analysis that prioritises projects for various different channels, be it major projects, be it a missing link program. That's what we're talking about here. And what you can see in that snapshot is the prioritisation framework. They're the 5 heads of consideration. Now, underneath those, 4 heads of consideration. Underneath those 4 heads, there's multiple criteria. And so we rank every project. We rank the criteria for community need and demand, for safety, inclusion, and accessibility, value for money, deliverability, so, constructability and funding and opportunity. And so all of that helps us prioritise projects in the big bucket. In the next slides, I'm going to show you how that breaks down into various different streams. So everything captured, everything categorised. A bit of fun here, and just I knew Boris would.
Hi, Boris.
We got to get into recycling, and I was able to capture that one. I'm sure I'll have some words afterwards with Boris. All right. So again, as I said, historic projects that we've identified, new projects from other strategies, new projects from the consultation, everything gets captured. Nothing's been lost. What we then do is go to develop our programs. And so we've got major pathway projects, and they're the ones that can take 2, 3, sometimes 4 years to deliver and get off the ground. They're generally being funded by our Section 712 or via grants. We've got pathway renewal programs, which is just maintaining what we got. Doesn't really come into play here. It does when you start to think about if we've got a footpath in a location, but the strategy says we eventually want a shared path. When you get to renewal, that's the opportunity to consider, do you do something more? The one where a lot of these criteria starts to come into play, however, is the missing link program, what we call the priority pathway program. This year, it's a near $3 million grant funded program with a 250 contribution that came in the last budget cycle. Moving forward, that starts to become council's program. So we will be using the framework to shape that in line with priorities, in line with all the projects that we've registered. So now I'm going to give you a little bit of a closer look at what sort of consideration goes into that minor program, into that missing link, smaller scale stuff. In most of this content you've seen before. We presented, I believe, at the last one, which I wasn't able to attend. But what we're talking about in that missing link one is we're looking for the smaller scale stuff. We're looking for those missing gaps in between development and development. Or we're looking for that last leg to get you into town or to get you to the bus stop. So short pathway connections, not necessarily looking to do a new route, not branching out with anything too adventurous. It will be focused on safety. We'll be looking at those heavily used informal places and going, hang on, can we put a path there? Gaps between existing. Prioritisation around schools, shops, transport hubs, town centres, all of those heads of consideration that came out of our broader outcomes. Obviously, to start, we're going to be looking for that stuff that we can do line and lay. Very ambitious to pick up a project and think, I'm going to design it and start it this year, no matter how small it is. So we're looking for that sort of stuff where we can go on site and go, no constraints whatsoever. We can literally scrape the dirt. We can lay a footpath down. And in a lot of cases, if we get this right, there'll already be a wear path there from everyone using it so heavily, and it's just replace it. And obviously what we'll do, and the guys are doing it right now, is crunching all those numbers on the project so we can identify those bigger things that could be delivered in later years when the budget does go up a little bit. 250 per annum for years 1 and 2. It's 1.25 from years 3 and 4. And the last slide, sorry, I'm going to jump back. What did I miss, Boris? I missed it. There was one other change to the document, and it was to identify the connections between our neighbouring councils, prioritise investigating those improved linkages between Lake Mac being the obvious one. I know they've been council to council have been talking about that. So we did add a section in the report making it very clear that a priority for us was to work with our neighbours to look for opportunities to jointly fund and jointly submit for funding for projects. So that were the three big changes: adding school, adding that reference to the neighbouring councils, and adding the additional action, committing us to a monthly progress update through to the community. So now to jump to the last slide. It's really just that summary of all of the maps and where our network's going to go. Blue being the existing and green being the links that would eventually close out the networks. What I thought might be useful looking at this is to start to overlay where we are focused in our programs at the moment. We're talking about those major projects already in flight. And these are all of the projects that are either in active construction. I rode past Malinia this morning. Really excited to see that one being not too far off, looking really good. But all of those others are in design, or sorry, Baker Drive's already also started. Chuckawong's just nibbled, Henry Park's just nibbled. Then I laid over the recent grant funding that we've received. So there was the package around Tuggerah Lakes. We've got some funding out of Baker Drive, and there's some work down at Ocean Beach. And then I thought it was also worth overlaying where Transport for New South Wales has active projects in development. And what you start to see is quite a lot of that network is going to be busy. Over an extended period, some of those transport projects will 10, 15 years at least. And what isn't shown there, what I couldn't show you, is the Priority Pathways program, because we're still building and validating that. So in addition to that, there'll be little flags all over the place where we're doing those smaller scale works as they roll out. So that was it from me. Any questions?
Thanks, Jay. We'll open it up. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, so well done. I think the document is fantastic, but I do have questions. So a couple of questions. I thought at one of our earlier meetings, we talked about that 1.8 metre width, and we didn't necessarily, I got the feeling that we didn't endorse it 100% for the whole pathway network.
No, that's right.
Yeah, so how, and I have got a question after this, Chair, as well. So, but that doesn't quite come through in the document, I didn't think.
No, so the specifications will aim at a 1.5 path. In high traffic locations where space permits, we consider a 1.8. So it doesn't mean we're mandated to 1.8 in any location. 1.5 is our specification. It's the opportunity, in line with Transport's guidelines, to do a 1.8 where it works for us and for the location. So, sometimes it's cost prohibitive to put that extra 300 mils in, a really heavily trafficked urban area that would warrant it. We wouldn't go there unless it was grant funded or was or funded outside of council. So 1.5 is our spec, 1.8's high traffic if space permits.
Yeah, look, I guess I'm coming at it from the environmental perspective, obviously, in that the more hard surface you have, the more runoff you're going to get, all that kind of stuff. So I would have, not wanting to in any way compromise the cycleways and that, I would have preferred that. But anyway, that's not an issue. I'm going to dive into on.
Just Councillor Smith, before you move on to your next question, the director had a comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To Councillor Smith. It was an opportunity that I provided all councillors to make some amendments to the strategy before it went to council. I did receive a submission on that, and that got included with those words that then got adopted at council to go on exhibition. But that was an amendment to the strategy from this group.
And yep, so what are you telling me that, what's the amendment you're telling me?
I think the director is saying
That it's
there was
flexible.
an opportunity to add this.
All right,
The change that was made is the action that the action that said we consider a 1.8 metre footpath. Some additional words were added to that to clarify the circumstances that we would. So,
okay.
you know, those statements around it being appropriate, it being high traffic, and it being subject to cost. And
Yep. Okay, no, thank you for that. So my second question is that in terms of amenity and servicing, I think in the document a number of times we talk about shade and seating, but it's not reflected in any of the actions.
So the action on that one is we don't have really good information on where our water stations are and what is an appropriate spacing. And so the action that the team will take on as a result of this is we're going to go out and audit and map where all that is. And we're going to develop a framework to understand where should we be putting this in? Because we do get inquiries to put in, it might be water fountains, it might be seats, it might be a bike repair station. There's not a really good decision-making framework around that. So the first thing, we're going to understand what we've got, what the space is. We'll have a look at what the industry and other councils are doing, and then we'll adopt a framework to be able to roll out as a standard on all of our projects.
Okay, can we specifically reference that in one of the actions though, because it's not referenced at all? I think it talks about audit and for drinking fountains, but not for the other things.
Okay.
And I guess what I'm interested in is whether there is a standard to say every 100 metres, ideally, not compulsory, every 100 metres you'd have a seat, or every 200 metres you'd have a seat, and every 50 metres you'd have a shade tree or something like that. Do we have any of those kinds of standards?
It's not Australian standards, but there is, you know, guidelines. You know, just the other day there was a safe streets we're looking at and things like that, which you can take a bit of a lead from. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's WC 4.2. I think you've got the audit and map bike racks, storage and drinking fountains. So if we could include seating and shade,
Yep.
I would really appreciate that. I don't see that as a significant departure from the feedback you received. I think I saw environment up there, the feedback.
Thanks, Councillor.
But thank you very much.
Councillor Eaton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two issues. One, I've actually discussed this with Joe Boris, but I'm in the table on page 7. It still says council has a minimum width of 1.5 metres, and the Aus Road standard is 1.2, and greater, obviously, for greater traffic ones. But the issue is, if we make them 1.5 or 1.8, we get less pass for our money. That's the issue I have. I think we've got so much need for footpaths in particular. I'm talking about cycleways or shared paths. They've clearly got to be what footpaths is that we go for the Aus Road standard and wider where required, rather than say, all right, we're going to have 1.5 or 1.8. And I just shared a photo to some of my colleagues about what's just been done in Oak Street at Weil, where you've got an existing footpath that's about 1 metre wide, and the new path that adjoins, that continues on, is 2 metres wide. And it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't actually comply with your standard either. So I'll leave that where it is. I mean, I think I'm agreeing with Councillor Smith, actually. Bit of a worry.
Don't start
No.
that. Don't start that.
But the other issue I've got, which isn't covered in here, and I'm not, don't know the answer to it, is clearly we're getting more and more problems with e-bikes and the speeds they go, and a little bit of motorbikes too. So, I mean, I don't know if the answer is, do we look at putting speed humps or something in? I don't know. It's got to be something we start to think about what we can do to further mitigate the speed, I think.
I think it's a bigger issue than.
Yeah, I'm not saying I don't know the answer. I just know we've got a problem.
Thanks, Councillor Eaton. Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Overall, really think it's a good strategy, and I like that you guys have put so much effort into it, and I like your sort of passion for this. I can tell that by the way you've made the presentation. I suppose my first question is, how does this strategy relate, obviously being walking, wheeling and cycling, to other footpath upgrades in the local area that might just be, say, someone, putting a footpath on a particular street that's not necessarily for a broader connectivity purpose like this?
This covers both. So the second outcome is heavily focused on that walking and wheeling network. So, the second outcome is the cycleway, the bike focused one. The first one is very focused on those walking connections. So it's not just the big regional stuff underneath, and it's too dense to show on this sort of mapping, but underneath that mapping, there's pathway networks clustering around all of our town centres, schools, health precincts, shopping precincts. So most of that sort of stuff will come with those more minor programs, where the green lines that you can see are generally the bigger scale regional shared path stuff that are sort of major standalone projects.
If I look at the first thing that comes to mind is, say, Hillside Road in Avoca Beach. It doesn't necessarily connect between points, but it's quite a long street, and I get 3 or 4 different parents who contact me on Facebook once every 6 months and saying, where's this up to?
Yeah.
Like, how does something like that fit in? That's not, again, part of, because I think the plan through that particular suburb is to connect it to the beach and the shop front and then down into Copacabana. So how does that sort of line up?
What it does is there's a number of factors there. So we've got that project. I can tell you right now that we've had advocacy for that in the past. It's already in a register. It gets weighted on, that there is safety issues. So one of the heads of consideration is safety and accessibility. So that's looking at those places where there's not a safe walking alternative, or is there, a particular safety issue by that constrained location. So it's not that they are precluded from the process. They're all considered and they're all got the opportunity to receive funding. It's just when you do those multi-criteria analysis, those sort of projects sometimes do struggle because they don't have the foot traffic. It comes down to...
Just one small question, because I'm conscious of time. How does this strategy also become a living document in being able to adapt to change? For example, now in Davistown, you've got the Millennia Shared Pathway, which is quite a big project, and it's been delayed for various reasons for probably 4 years now. So how does a project like that get incorporated into the strategy from a living perspective, where we're actually mapping these changes over time as they occur? Because some projects, particularly in those sort of suburbs with heritage assessments and whatnot, will naturally have longer times than others.
Yeah, that's on us to do our pre-planning appropriately and make sure that we timeline that one. For the record, we did get caught out with Millennia. That was the project that got stuck as the heritage regulations changed, and it was almost the first project anywhere that was a nightmare because of that, but it is about to be delivered. These maps won't be live in the document. I won't be updating the document. That's set. And in 5 years from now, we'll do a review and you'll start to see all the work that we do and promote how much we've achieved and be able to fill in all the bits that we haven't done. When we complete projects, we do immediately, obviously capture it on internal systems, but we also reach out to Google Maps and those other platforms to update them to say, hey, we've completed this link, and then they can start to promote and share that with the public as well.
Thanks, Jay. Before we continue on with questions and comments, I'm just going to put a recommendation up on the screen just to keep the ball rolling, as we do need to move on in the interest of time. I'll move the staff recommendation to adopt the strategy, but we could also consider some comments raised about considering shade.
That's action WC 4.2.
What was the wording? Can you give it to...
Amend that action to include shade and seating in the order. Okay.
It's not to amend it per se, but to adopt the strategy as is, as we've gone through the public consultation and council process, but have the staff still be considering shade as they complete the strategy.
Can I clarify why that's not acceptable?
Through you, Madam Chair, to audit shade's going to be somewhat difficult. What I was going to suggest is that we'll support that it goes to council for adoption with the addition of considering seeds and shade in design work going forward. That's so anything that we're considering new, that's considered as we put in cycleways.
Sorry, clarification. How are you auditing drinking fountains?
I'll leave that.
Oh, we're literally going to map them. We don't.
Okay, and you can't map shade and seating?
I think mapping number of trees would be.
No, it's shade cover. It's not number of trees. It's shade cover. Midday on each day. I mean, you know, when you get a development application, they model shade.
How many kilometres are we talking about in relation to?
Oh, we're going to be focused on our regional loops. Yeah, so it's going to be focused on those, you know, the big legs, the Tuggerah Lakes Loop, the Coastline Cycleway. All of our major legs will be auditing to.
I'll second I'll second your motion.
Thanks, Councillor Eden. I'd be happy for I need to just make it as the one item, just recommends to council adopts the strategy and considers setting and shade design works. Councillor Neil has a hand up.
Yes, just in relation to I sort of very much appreciate the work that's gone in the strategy, and it's obviously a pretty substantial and positive piece of work. I was just wondering how it impacts on other potential bikeways from the future. Does that mean that council will not consider any other paths or shared biking pathways in that 5-year period while this policy is in place? Is that how you would envisage it, Director?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Neil. We have got a program of works, and what Jay's gone through is the prioritisation matrix. So the prioritisation matrix is there to guide us in relation to what the strategy's suggesting once we put it through, you know, the lens of the matrix. That's not to say that council can't make an alternate decision in relation to any of this if there are other circumstances, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, I just wanted to, I've had quite a few over the years representations in relation to access ways, walking or biking from the bays down to Woy Woy, which is obviously a project fraught with difficulty and cost. But at some stage, I might like to pursue it. But what you're saying is that this strategy does not preclude any other works that may not be listed here from being considered by council.
Through you, Madam Chair, no.
Thank you, Director.
Thanks, Councillor Neil. I will now, sorry, Councillor Carson.
Just carrying on from what Councillor Neil said, as you would be aware, Chair, and also through to the Director, I had a motion at our council meeting regarding the pathway from Finlay Place through to PCYC through to Batter Bay Shops. I guess what I'm asking, and I know that basically at the last meeting, because this was coming up for, you know, looking at tonight, it's obviously was amended, came to this meeting, Councillor Stanton's amendment. So I guess what I'm asking is, and I suppose I said that's one, perhaps it follows on from Councillor Neil, is that it doesn't actually preclude this strategy, which I must say I think it's great, but it doesn't preclude consideration of other pathways or whatever. But obviously a case would have to be made. I mean, obviously there's funding that would need to be made available, etc. Maybe some changes in the budget. Or I'm also just wondering, again through you, Chair, Director, are we pursuing funding opportunities, considering there is a state election coming up sort of in March, and also not that long after, really? I think it's about 12 months' time, a federal election. Are we sort of going to be doing that in terms of some of the things that we've learnt about tonight?
Through you, Chair, Councillor Castles. Look, I think, piggybacking on what Councillor Neil has indicated, it doesn't preclude us, but I suppose I have to put out a word of caution in relation to leapfrogging other priorities in the consideration, and that's why this was, a detailed process. And those sorts of projects, I would understand, potentially score quite highly, because we have looked at that, and if you look at some of the criteria, now does it score higher than something else? Oil versus Gorican and all those sorts of things. That's why we've got the matrix. So I think that covers off, and if council want to make an alternate decision, and identify funding, and there's resources and ability to deliver, because that's the other thing. You have ambitious programs. In relation to seeking funding opportunities, yes, we are looking at that. Sometimes there are competing projects in that, but definitely looking at grant.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Director, and thanks, Councillor Castles. And just a quick clarification as well, this item was already on the agenda prior to the council meeting.
Yes, definitely. Yep.
I'm now going to put the motion that I moved previously. All those in favour? Councillor Wright, Councillor Eaton, Councillor Stanton, Councillor Neil. All those against? Councillor Smith. I will declare that one carried. Thank you very much, Jay, for that really great presentation. That was very good. We will now move to item 2.4, which is the Central Coast Leagues Club Park Tidal Terrace. And it's about making a decision about which funding option we go with, putting forward a grant application, and how we fund the remainder, depending on which scenario we choose or do not choose this evening. I believe there is a presentation from Brett. I don't know if the Director has anything to say before that.
Thanks, Mr. Sherrard. We'll just do a brief presentation. I know it's 6:17. So if we can progress.
While we're getting ready, I just want to give Rick Gatt. Rick Gatt's my section manager, Parks and Playgrounds. So I need he's here to hold my hand. And because after Jay, you could have put us before Jay. Sorry,
and I'll just ask everyone to hold questions until the end, if we could power through.
And if I could just interrupt for 1 second, Councillor Neil, just to please ask, if you intend to stay in the meeting, please keep your camera on but your sound muted.
What I'm trying to do is what I tried to do was switch to my phone. So that's what I was doing.
That's fine.
So
we can start the presentation now. Thank you.
Hey. Oh, if I could clicker.
Did they steal it? Like that.
So I don't know if so Tidal Terrace Leagues Club. I don't know if anyone knows much about the Tidal Terrace. It was built a number of years ago. HCCDC, funded by the state government, built the Tidal Terrace as is, and there was some feedback provided that we didn't think the water source was going to be very good, and it's actually the water is not fit for using A number of issues with where the water comes from, but also the depth of the water and all that led to problems, and it has not been open for a long while. To seek to try to rectify it, the issue, we got a grant funding of $1.65 million from the federal government to support the rebuilding of what was there. And we went out to community consultation and asked them what they'd like to see there. And as you can see, people wanted water play, combination swings, nesting swings, everything you like to see at a good park. So we got this information. We come back to the executive and said, we've got a lot of feedback. Model terrace, it doesn't work. How do we move forward to this? And we said, go and get a number of options, almost like a pick and choose. So we could, depending on what we could do, because with the 1.65 million, we couldn't do everything. And it's a very big area, and it's identified as the #1 destination playground on Central Coast moving forward. So we went to consultants, and we took in everything they've asked for, all the community, and we have to do something, look to do something with the tidal terrace because it's not functioning, and also look at potential play. Some of the stuff we were told is maintain the character and storytelling in the park. There's a lot of Aboriginal heritage information that went into the building of the park, designs by Aboriginal people with the totems and the motifs and all that. So part of the feedback was we want to keep, I guess, the heart of what the playground is. So we're looking at reusing the motifs. I'll get to the next slide. We've done the community consultation. They wanted to keep the yarning circle, the sand yarning circle, improve playability and put more value for the community into it, increase accessibility, inclusiveness, and deliver a strong destination play space that improves play value, amenity, accessibility, connections to country. So we went out there and we went to and looked through and they've split them up into A, B, C, D, and I'll go through and break them through what they are. There's the splash park only. I'll go back, show you the splash park. So over in this corner is a 3-level splash park. It's got for very small youth, intermediate, then bigger kids play area. It's got disability. It's got toilets, disability toilet, like adult change areas, all that sort of stuff. And then this is the playground. So when you look at the A is over here, the B is over here, and there's different levels of A.
Sorry, Brett, can you just go back? Is that the whole? Sorry, questions at the end. Is that the whole footprint?
That is the entire footprint that we're.
So we're not talking about all the area around it.
No, we're not looking to touch.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we're looking at them. So there's the splash park only, strip back version, play terrace only, strip reduced scope, and I'll talk through what that means. And option C is to do both playgrounds and the water play in the basic model. You can do the full concept delivered concurrently or full concept in stage. There's different prices for that sort of thing. So splash park. So this is splash park footprint. And anyone's been down to Gosford Waterfront where the new buildings are going up, there's just a big dome of dirt with all the leftover dirt at the end of where they dug it out and it was too dear to take away. So put this big pile of dirt and put bush on it. And it's not a very pleasant area. That's where it was identified as where the splash park would like to be. So you've got your multiple different areas, your big kids play, your small kids play, intermediate play, educational play, fitting in with the theme, same sort of theme, colour schemes and all that of the original one. Scenario B is, I probably should talk when I talked on it, 3 areas of separate age, basic amenities and change integrates the current storytelling, and some of the motifs will be taken from the water play, the current water and put in here. The issue with this one, it doesn't solve the non-functioning tidal terrace. We put all our money into this one, you've still got the big sand pit. Scenario B is the play area. So this has the double flying fox, the double mouse wheel, climbing boulders, nature play, risky play, which is the big thing these days to teach kids how not to hurt themselves. I don't know if I've got a picture of the big iconic sea eagle.
The report.
Later slides.
Is it a later slides? Is it? So things that will be missing is you won't have the iconic sea eagle, and that come from Dark and Young rep saying the sea eagle is a really important animal in there. It used to sit over watching go down and fish in there. So that's why we looked at the sea. It's a climbing. So what we're trying to do now with all our programs is integrate an animal that's climbing and actually represents the area. No interpretation of lighting and reduced play value. So the surfaces won't be rubberized, they will be bark, and some of the walkways will be crushed granite rather than concrete. So combination of A and B is you get your water play, you get all your climbing, you get all that all that thing. C, but it is still the pared back version. You don't have as many bells and whistles. D is the full concept, which showed in the first place, delivers both the playground and splash park integrated at the same time, retains the broader community, local Aboriginal land council support. We've got them writing, they support this design. They were up against it. We're up against it at the start when we said we needed to remove it, but they're all on board with what we put forward. It's a strongest outcome, avoids reduced scope compromise in C, accessible inclusive amenities, including having the change table. It is more maintenance friendly having concrete paths and rubber softfall than having bark and that sort of stuff. Concept E is exactly the same, except we build one now and another one later when there's other funding available. Funding pathways, so we've already got a federal grant of 1.65 million. To date, designs, detailed design, studies, all that. We've spent it, well, we haven't spent 450,000, but by the time it's ready to go to tender, it's about 450,000 to get the entire project done. So it'll leave us $1.2 million plus. Grant opportunities are currently grant open at the moment, closes in about 12 days time for New South Wales Better Open Space programs. $2 million is a maximum you can apply for. There's up to 2 per council, but you don't have to apply for 2. You can apply for $36 million across, I'm not sure, it's about 24 LGAs, but it's based on where growth housing, more people moving in, where's the money's going to be, and which Gosford hits in a T. I think we're the 11th highest number of extra places going out in last year's survey. Remaining could be funded through use of Section 7.1 Developed Contributions Fund to balance. I spoke to our Section 7.1 people. It's $45 million currently in that bucket. And they tell me Gosford doesn't have a Section 7.1, so anything works in there comes out of the 7.12 funding. So that could be used to do it. And the total budget estimated for this project is $6 million if we do everything to the highest level. In case there's questions, 7.12 can be used for other eligible infrastructure projects. This project has been identified as a priority recreation open space opportunity and actually bringing, I guess, that waterfront up as well. How likely is the grant to be succeeded? The grant opportunity is considered relevant to the project. The funding is not guaranteed, and council should maintain a workable funding pathway if the grant's unsuccessful. But council officers consider the project aligned strongly with objectives and better open space programs. And if we actually go for this grant, we'll then contact our local members to see if we can get them to support the project as well. What else could the grant be used for? The grant can be used for any relevant project that meets a funding criteria. That could be playgrounds, could be anything like that. But Title Terrace is very suitable for that funding as well. Why I didn't put up a do nothing option, or why it's not recommended. The existing Title Terrace is non-functional, underutilised, and pretty much a blight on the waterfront. Current federal grant funding of 1.65 million requires some form of construction. I think we did talked about potentially if we say no, we're not doing anything, we could pare everything back and whatever's money's left, go and build a play space. So we got about $1.2 million. I think it's fair to say we could do that. But if we say we're not going to do anything with the federal grant funding, we say we're not doing a no offer, we have to pay back all the money we've already spent, including the $400,000 we've committed. If no construction occurs, we have to pay it back. Approximately 450 has been health concerns to the community due to poor water quality, and functional Title Terrace will stay there. We continually pump the water out every time it rains.
Next steps, if the recommendation from the officers is that we'll make an application for open space program grant. I've had my team working on it to be prepared just in case, because the more effort you put into an application, the more likely you are to win it. So I didn't want to leave it for any days. So there's a lot of work I've done in current. Current ISO grant requires completion where an extension because it actually due in March next year. I've never had a problem getting extension from a federal government before, but we just need to be aware that the current grant is supposed to be, if we say we're just going to spend the remainder of grant and nothing else, we will quickly map something up to get something on the ground as quick as possible. The Better Open Space grant requires to be completed by mid-2027. So that will align, to start work by 2027. We're in the detailed design phase now, so that'll be easily to hit the ground then. Gives us 2 years to complete the project. Any question?
Thanks, Brett. I will start. I do have a lot of questions, but I will just start with a couple and we'll go around and come back. Yes, number one is, so we've got $1.2 million left of one grant, and we're going to be seeking $2 million. Question one is, I guess, what is the likelihood that you foresee us actually getting that full 2 mil? And if it's not that, I guess, how will we know that, and what is the timeline on an outcome of our application?
Okay, I don't know the exact time frame of the closing application. I know we have to have 31st of August. Normally they make this is about 3 to 4 months, but I can chase that up and get that information back for you. The likelihood of getting the grant, I think in the last 3 to 4 years, I've successfully sourced probably $36 million worth of grants. So that is a lot of grant funding. I don't think council's paid for a PlayStation. PlaySpace. We're very popular for grants for like this sort of thing is what MPs want to come and cut ribbons for or whatever. It's very like what we deliver is very popular. So I would say we're highly likely, but I don't want to be standing in front of you in 6 months' time and going, oh, I got nothing. So I can't guarantee, nothing's guaranteed. I'm sure our local members will be very supportive of this grant application. We normally get them to put in letters of support whenever we apply for grant that's state funded. So, yeah. And was it more parts to those questions?
Sorry, but maybe I guess to go back to that, do you maybe have an idea, percentage, how confident you would be to get the full 2 million? It's just an opinion. It doesn't need to be
At least on historical, I'd say 80%. The last 2 grants we've really failed on. Feedback has been you would have got the grants that you didn't put enough effort into your grant application. It was North Lakes Oval Amenities Building, which is about 14, 15 months ago. And before that, it was to do with some flood mitigation works. We got 3 grants of about 2.7 million. They said we could have got the whole 5.1 if we put more effort. Sorry, I'll stop swaying. It's nervousness. Yeah, but yeah, they said we would have got the full amount if we actually put more effort in our grants. So we put a lot more effort into our grants now.
Okay, thank you. My next question is about the real difference between scenario C and D. Of course, A and B are quite clear. C and D are both the full suite, but I guess at different levels of detail. Maybe can you be a bit more specific for us about the real difference, because there is quite a cost difference.
So the real difference is going to come into your amenities and your changing areas and your toilets. It'll be very pared back sizes. So you won't have your full, what would you call it, your it's not changing places, that's actually a brand name, but you won't have your changing places area. You just have a basic toilet with a couple of changing. So probably you drop those 3 buildings probably down to 1 pump building and a small, probably might get 3 or 4 toilets and 3 or 4 changing areas rather than the full suite of change area. A lot of the shared pathways, so I don't know if anyone knows the history of what was down there since we were handed this facility. We'd turned nearly all of the council spent an extensive amount of money turning all the pathways from crushed granite into concrete for usability for wheelchairs and all that. So a lot of these pathways would be only crushed granite. You wouldn't be getting concrete through there. These are like rubber, all this is inserted rubber soft fall, so you wouldn't be getting rubber soft, you'd be getting bark, like your bark in your fall areas. What's on the other thing?
Is the bark in C and then the soft in D, or
No, yeah.
vice versa?
C, where you get your rubber, you get your bark. D, the rubber is the higher, it's the much better one. You don't have to replace it every year, and parents don't complain that their kids come home with bark in their shoes and dirt all over them. You'll get the small eagle, but you won't get the big eagle. Is that right?
I'm not sure if you get the eagle. With the
I don't think
built-back
I'm not sure if you get both, but there's another eagle that's not in this picture. There's a 6 foot tall, or 6 metres tall, and actually overlooks the Broadwater. There's another, not as much. The planting will be pared back a long way. You won't get the full 3 areas of the water play. It'll probably go back to a sort of
with one consolidated area.
Unconsolidated area. They're the main things. I could actually pull out there. Yeah, there's a massive list of all the different things.
Okay, thank you so much. I will retain my questions for after. Councillor Eden had a question.
A couple of questions for me. Car parking. There's virtually no car parking, is there? And there's something in D about car parking.
Yes.
Couldn't quite figure that out.
My memory. So one of the things we asked, there is not much place to put car parking down there, but what we did ask for, and it was put in as an option, which is included in D, is kiss and drop and disability parking. So along this is what the name of that road is, but it's a one-way road. And you've got the new developments going here along this one-way road, where as part of D, you've got multiple disability parking and kiss and drop, or whatever they call it, parking, so people can pull up, drop the kids, drop the wife off, or husband, or whatever, all the barbecue stuff, and then go find your parking, and one person goes back. That is all part of D, but it's not in any of the other ones.
Just coming back to the funding, we talk about 712, I think, contributions.
Yep.
How much of those are actually collected for Gosford? Because my understanding was most of the Gosford high rise didn't actually have developer contributions attached to them as a decision of the previous Gosford Council before the Central Coast Council.
I'd have to take that one on notice. That's a question for our developer people, our developer contributions team. But they were I spoke to them and said, "What are the contributions?" From what I think they told me is they only collect 712 from the Gosford area. They don't have 711 collection plans, but I can't be. I'd have to get that one for it.
Yeah, that's the same issue. I don't think that's right. I don't think they can get 711.
But 712, I think.
712, I think, is all around the Central Coast.
Yeah.
I'd like to get the information as to how much really comes out of Gosford, or in that greater Gosford area. My questions, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith.
Thank you. So I don't want to spend too much time going over kind of the history, but the state government funded this with $10 million and it's failed. Why aren't they, have we had a rebuff from them in terms of fixing the problem? Or have we, just because it's been handed over to council, sort of said it's worked out?
Pretty much that was handed to council. We did push back to get a number of changes for the maintenance, extend the maintenance period, but pretty much handed to us as is. HDCC managed the program.
Yes. I think it's, I mean, not your fault. I think it's pretty poor that the state government isn't fixing this. But my second point, just in terms of the developer contributions, I thought that when state government took over planning in Gosford, those developer contributions were going to a state infrastructure fund. So I thought they were now with the state. So I just wonder if we can get some further information about that, because really we should be trying to get that. In terms of the actual design, I'm a bit concerned that, like, is there a complete plan for that open space area and this is just part of it? Or
So the currently, you'd probably see from this point forward, at the moment, you've got the slides, you've got the big birds there.
No, I'm talking about further up
Oh.
and out. Like, is there a master plan for that whole area and this is just a bit of it?
That's not my, I have to speak to strategic planning.
Because I guess that's my concern, is that we're fixing this little bit and there's a whole big area that really needs to be master planned. So sorry, then just getting to another point, the shade issue. So I don't know that you mentioned shade in your presentation, but right from the beginning, shade has been a massive problem there, which, you know, we all know about kids getting burnt on the slippery dip and that.
So what they've done, if you see them in here, they've made them pretty much see-through. Shade, 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 shade shelter, shade, shade. So
Then informal shading
there,
trees.
yeah, then so there's probably 14 shade cloth ones in there, but also the tree, the shading of the trees. So we're looking like seating areas and all that sort of stuff. They have shade, but over the top of the play stuff that can get hot, we're having actual proper shade.
Yeah, I'd have to say I've had school groups down there sitting on this concrete and it's just unbearable. They haven't been able to stay there. So I do think it should be more done with shade, and I am concerned about the amount of concrete. I know you love it, but reflecting heat.
That's where one of the peeled back versions was. So you can see it's very pixelated of all of this, but there's a lot of crazy pave there rather than your hard concrete. So that we did go the peeled back option, it would be concrete, but if we could get the D option, we would get more, I guess, hard landscaping areas will take away that harshness from the concrete. But also same with shade. So if we do go for that peeled back option, we'll still have shade, but it'll be less volume.
Yeah, look, I think you guys have done a great job.
We really need to move on.
Do have a problem with it though.
We need to move on. Councillor Wright.
Just quickly, firstly, the splash park, where does the water for that come from?
There's a pump station underneath there. There is well, I don't know exactly where it is, but there's about 50,000 litres of fresh water kept under the ground. Goes through a pump station there. It's got chlorination. It's tested. It's actually we originally wanted to look at one of the ones, I guess the zero depth splash parks, like they're nice and colourful and all that. But this is something different, and it's really fit with the theme of the area and all that sort of stuff, rather than a nice big plastic slides and all that sort of stuff. So,
and my second question is more of a comment. I think, regardless of how council votes tonight, I think I would still like to see a bit like that full breakdown that you had between C and D. Obviously, $1 million. Like I'm fully supportive of the design of scenario D. It looks very nice and has a lot of value, particularly for a suburb like Gosford that's going to see a lot of housing growth. But it is $1 million of ratepayer money. So I would like to see that breakdown. Just to know the difference. I think that's fair. And I think when people are asking me about it after already seeing so much public money, whether through ratepayer dollars or taxpayer dollars going into the project, I'd just like to see that.
Thanks, Councillor. I just have two quick questions before we move on. The first question is about maintenance. What currently maintenance do you have to do and the cost of that? And I guess the predicted maintenance that you would do, say in scenarios C or D, I don't know if it would differ because they're both involving both aspects. I guess what's the difference in the maintenance from now till?
Currently, right now, the Total Terrace is not operational. So like Brett said, we're currently on site after every large rain event and we are pumping out water, as well as when we get king tides and whatnot. So at the moment, there is a bit of maintenance around rain events. Also, the dysfunctional, I guess, Total Terrace is still being used as nature play, so it's sand. So staff are still going down there and doing their inspections regularly, checking for shafts such as needles, glass, and whatnot. And we're also getting some weeds in the area. So right now, it actually is higher maintenance levels than what it was proposed by state government. Moving forward, if we were to go towards scenario D, we are getting a lot more formalised hard landscaping and soft landscaping. So we should see a reduction in maintenance. Our playground guys are already there inspecting the playground adjacent to the total terrace. So they would have to therefore do the inspections and the maintenance of the additional play space. And the splash park, my technical officer has already been earmarked that would be the position for him to go down there every morning and do the inspections of that facility. We anticipate that the splash park may only operate during the warmer months, around that November to April period as well, and then also duplicate in winter as types of play options.
So if it was non-operational, would that mean that you'd have the same maintenance that you have now, where you have to go in and pump it out?
It'd be more maintenance. It'd be more maintenance right now, reactive maintenance. So we have sensors on the total terrace, so we would get an alarm in the middle of the night, and we would have to reactively go and resource staff to go and make sure that it's not flooding. We had an incident once where the pumps did not work, and we had 300 mils of water cascading, creating a risk to the community, a drown issue. So a bit more around, I guess, reactive maintenance opposed to more proactive maintenance that we can resource better because we know what we're dealing with.
Do you have maybe a rough idea of the cost difference between what you're incurring now and what
to notice and quantify that and come back.
Okay. In that case, thank you so much for your presentation. I am going to move a motion now. I am going to move an amendment to the staff recommendation as it appears on the screen. We need to incorporate that we need to request an extension for the final date to expend the Australian government investing in our community's federal grant as an extra item. We also, I would like to make this decision contingent on the outcome of the New South Wales Better Open Space program and link them together, and we should be coming back to consider, depending on the outcome, or if we don't have an outcome in time, deciding what to do then. For me personally, I would like a report. I'm not sure if the rest of the committee is amenable to that, but I would like a report that maybe has a better breakdown of the difference between options C and D, and maybe that cost of the maintenance as well, because the cost identified in this currently is about the project costs, which utilises grant funding of different sources and developer contributions, but it's not about the maintenance. And I don't feel that we have that information in the report or from our discussions now. But I would be happy to still put down an in-principle support for one of these scenarios if that's what the committee want to do, and still base it on receiving another report back to the committee at a time that the director and the team feels they can respond to that.
I suppose my question on that would be, does that impact the staff in terms of when we need to actually lodge the grant? If
we'll put the grant with the 2 million now, and that will go to council still.
I meant more so if we're getting a report, when would we see it again to make a decision? That wouldn't be for another 2 months, and then would need to go to council, so it'd be 2.5 months.
The grant would
Through
go
you,
in.
Madam Chair, I think the decision of the group is to seek grant.
Okay.
And then
Okay, so you'll see.
Yeah, right now we'll seek the grant no matter what. That's the most important thing, so we don't miss out the deadline.
Rest of it, we can still after.
Yeah, so we don't miss out on the deadline. We'll put that in, and then we don't want to miss out on utilising the current grant that we've got before we can make an informed decision. But for me, at least, I would like a more comprehensive report, especially about those maintenance costs, as that will fall back onto the operational side of our budget and won't be able to develop contributions. So that's where I'm sitting. But I'll open that up to the floor and ask for feedback, and then I can amend my wording accordingly.
Madam Chair, I think we do need to say principal support for option D, because they can't prepare the grant without having having what a design.
Sure. So if we just keep the staff recommendation with the supports, I would say supports, comma, in principle, the redevelopment of Leagues Club based on scenario D and the proposed project cost of 6 million. And then I would say on the basis. Sorry, Councillor Neil, could you please turn your sound onto mute? And if you're in attendance of the meeting, please stop moving around and walking around and talking to other people and just sit in the spot. Thank you so much.
I'm actually trying to say something, which is why I turned it on.
Councillor Neil, I haven't called on you yet. I'm in the middle of talking. Could you please put yourself on mute? Thank you. So with the staff recommendations, supports in principle the redevelopment of the park based on scenario D at the project cost on the basis of receiving further grant contributions. Submit the $2 million grant, supports in principle, again, in principle, the developer contributions to fund the remainder, and request the extension and request a report to an INA meeting.
That's good because it doesn't restrict us just to that grant. We can look at other grants too. There's this one we know closing in 11 days or whatever it is, but this will open us up to even coming from people, members of parliament or something for the next elections.
Perfect. I'll just have a quick read before I.
Still need the subject to
supports,
don't we? Contingent upon the grant funding.
Maybe Bronnie, is it easier if you just bring up the staff rec to start with? Is that all right? And we can just kind of add to it. The staff rec. Perfect. So we'll just do supports in principle, redevelopment, based on scenario D, costing 6 million, comma, in the first one, on the basis of receiving further grant funding. Supports officers for the $2 million grant to assist in delivery and any other grants.
And any other available.
Perfect. And then 3 supports in principle. The use of the contributions. 1 difference. And then we'll do a 4th before that one, which is request an extension for the final date to expend the Australian government investing in our community's federal grant. And then the 5th one seeks a further report to Director Which or team which infrastructure meeting will be most appropriate. The next one in October, or is that too soon? Would you prefer November?
The grant to close. Next committee with some information probably.
We'll find out when the grant closes and an expected time of announcement.
So we'll just say to a future IAC meeting, and then you can work out when you have the most appropriate amount of information to provide us. And I would like that to expand on the difference between scenario C and D, funding options and maintenance costs, and maybe C and D and design specifics, because then you can kind of explain the bark and the soft surface and the concrete that Councillor Smith mentioned in the shade. So maybe you can be more specific about those.
Would including. Happy with that, Madam Chair?
Yep, no problem.
Future IAC including expand like that.
Yep.
Doesn't limit it.
Doesn't limit it. Yep.
And we have to authorise the CEO to submit the grant.
We did. That's still number 2. Supports officers submitting the $2 million grant. That was unchanged.
Don't know why it's in twice.
It's just up the top. It's just number 2, Councillor Eden. The $2 million grant and any other available ones.
Yeah, but I think, Madam Chair, that maybe there's a specific form of words that's needed.
That's the staff recommendation.
It says authorises as well. The,
Number 2.
you come down 6B.
Uh,
I know it's kind of the same thing, but
okay. So, why don't we say supports officers and authorises the CEO to submit? Yeah, no problem.
I
Yes,
just figured that was there for a reason.
yeah, no problem. Supports, you can add that, Bryony, up to number 2. Support officers and authorises.
Staff perspective in terms of getting us that information, but also being able to launch the grant, can keep it rolling. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Bryony and everybody.
We submit grants regularly based on what's already in the thing. This was more about where does council want us to go? Because we could have submitted this grant. The CEO has delegation to submit it, but we wanted to know what you wanted.
Sure.
That's why it gives us this direction.
Perfect. So I'll move that formally as that wording. No, none of that. Yeah. Do I have a seconder?
Sure.
Councillor Wright, thank you so much. And Councillor Neil, you have a question and you need to put your camera on, please. I'll ask one more time. Do you have a question? If not, we do need to move on. So I will now move the recommendation. All those in favour? I guess that's unanimous as per those in the room.
She can take Councillor Neil's
We will.
voting for it.
No, she's not in the meeting. We have 2 out of.
No, but then she's got to be recorded against, I think.
She's out of the meeting. Okay, we're moving on to our last item with 2
She's
minutes
out of the meeting. We haven't
to
got,
spare. Is that correct?
if she haven't, she's out of the meeting. We haven't got a quorum.
Oh, so we don't have quorum then. So we need to wait for. We'll just see if we can find.
She's got her hand up. Is she?
She's not. I asked her if she could answer her question.
Oh,
She didn't answer.
No, she's back.
Okay, Councillor Neil. Are you voting in favour of this motion, Councillor Neil? Councillor Neil, if you're voting in favour of this motion, can you please take your sound off mute? Or if you're voting against, please also take your sound off mute to let us know what you were voting. Councillor Neil?
I think she's trying to speak.
You are on mute. Not,
Is the,
stop.
my
you-
concern is that whether
Right.
we're able for,
Councillor Neil, I just need to know if you're voting in favour or not
Well,
in favour of
I've
this
been
motion.
waiting for about 15 minutes to speak.
Councillor Neil, it is on the record that I did call on you twice. You did not respond.
Yeah,
The motion
because I had just 2 seconds. I think you may be compromising your application for a grant. I think if you saw, you may not be able to apply for the grant. That's what I want to raise. I'm very supportive of the project. I support the proposition. My suggestion is that in principle may actually mean that you don't get the grant.
Okay,
So
thank you,
I'm raising that
Councillor
on the record now.
We did ask the staff if this wording was acceptable. Brett, did you have a response? Otherwise, we have put the motion and we do need to.
As I said earlier with the chair, we can apply for grants within the CEO's delegation, but we wanted to bring it to the committee to get your direction. That's
No,
why.
that's not the.
Thanks, Councillor Neil.
The point
Please,
is that
Councillor, again to just tell me, are you voting in favour?
I've indicated that I will support it, but I feel
Thank
I've
you, Councillor
indicated I'm
Neil. That
supporting
is
it,
now
but I think
unanimous.
that
We
the
are now
wording
moving to
means that you will
2.5.
not be eligible
Councillor
for the
Neil, I'm asking
grant.
you to turn
I've
yourself
had a
off
bit of
mute.
experience with this.
Please mute her.
I've had a bit of experience with this. You might have realised,
Yes,
Councillor
yes.
Stanton.
2.5, Lake Munmora Recreation Precinct, accessible public toilet.
Lost her again, so he's going to quorum again.
Well, perfect. We don't have time anyway. So we will defer this
Just sitting outside.
because she didn't want to vote for that. I think that's a breach of the code of conduct to leave for no quorum. Well, can a staff member just ask if she could please return to get quorum, so we can just quickly do the last item. Otherwise, we will defer this last item. Thank you so much, both of you, for
Thank
that presentation. Sorry we had to rush you. We just have another committee meeting to start.
All right, so
Arthur will
we're
push
deferring
button
this
on the
next one.
if
We might get it through.
Okay.
Got kicked off.
Perfect. Thank you so much. 2.5, we will keep going.
We don't need a presentation.
We don't need a presentation.
But maybe just say if there are any questions.
Any questions?
I'll move the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Eaton. Do we have a seconder? I'm happy to second that.
Yes, just noting it.
Do we have any questions? This was just noting the report back from council, just to get some more information about the stakeholders. Any questions? Perfect. That is great. All those in favour? Yes, me. That is unanimous to those in the room. Thank you so much. That is a close of our meeting at 7 o'clock on the dot. Thank you all for attending. Our next meeting will be in 2 months. Thank you.
I just think we got some good work.